Hey guys, today I wanted to do a quick progress report on what we have so far with Mario since I'm able to make it to school today. And so to get things started, we have the game itself here. It's being played right now in real time by Mario. We have the console up here, which keeps track of the fitness and which scripts to run, and then we have the code down here. And so the first thing that probably pops out is this input screen, and this is just a representation of the game world in inputs. So any tile is a white square and any sprite is a black square. And Mario is right in the center. And we have neurons connecting to the inputs, which tells Mario which buttons to press. And so right now it's pretty complex, but if we go back to an older generation, well, this is back to the start. So this is how Mario started off, and there's only a few connections at a time, and they're just being randomly chosen where to go. And eventually, it shouldn't take too much. Yeah, there we go. In this scenario, we have a green connection connected to a white square, telling Mario to move right, and here it is connected to the bias node. And so, as Mario moves right, it increases his fitness, and so the further right he gets, the more fitness he's given. And so now the application will use generations with higher fitness as a starting point for future evolutions. And so in this case, Mario's inching over to the right and he will stop here, yeah, because now the right is no longer connected to anything. And so this is a big, the way Mario just stops is a big thing holding him back because he will have, let me go back to a newer state. One of the biggest ways Mario's runs end are by just running up against the wall and just stopping. And well, he will eventually be able to overcome it in a basic level by using these outputs. There are some levels where he might need to come up against a wall, and he won't know to go back or like go down a pipe, and it would take quite an unreasonable amount of time for it to figure it out. And it just also is a problem because now it wouldn't be too complicated to get Mario to learn to overcome these walls. Like here, he's once he like gets up against these walls, his input just goes stale. They no longer no new inputs are being read, and he just kind of is done moving. And then the application tells that his fitness hasn't gone up in a while, and it will reload as a new evolution. And so what we want to do is remedy that, make it so Mario can figure out how to get over the wall in a more reasonable amount of time. And one way to do that that I tried was taking this bias because I wanted to keep Mario moving even when he gets stuck. And so one idea I had was to take the bias node, which is normally just a constant input for whatever's connected, and I tried making it not constant. So let me pause the script and reload. Older one I had. Load. So here in this version of the script, I think it will. Does it? Let me check the code really quick. Yeah, he should be. Let me refresh. Yeah, okay, here we go. So in this version, I have it so if the bias will flicker on and off based on what frame it is. So every 240 frames, it will turn off for 40 frames, or rather every 200 frames it turns off for 40 frames on a 240 frame cycle. And so what this does is, the idea was that when Mario would get stuck up against the wall, that by turning off and on again, the bias node might flicker him to jump or something. This didn't turn out to be too helpful. He has gotten a little bit further than in the previous script I had running, or the original script. Well, with the new fitness waiting, but in basically the old method of figuring out how the neurons are built without any change of the bias node. He got a little bit further, but he also has been running for a little bit longer. I had him running overnight, and he made it through 50 generations, where the other one made it through 32 generations. And each generation isn't just it's multiple species within the generation. And so I'm not sure exactly when the cutoff is, but it is after a while. So 50 generations is more than 50 runs. It's probably closer to like 400 runs through, 500 run throughs, or probably even more than that, maybe like 1,000. But either way, he has gotten a little bit further, but I don't know how much I can credit to the bias node flickering. And so one other thing I wanted to do was one other idea I had after this was to make it so when Mario does get stuck up against the wall and the fitness tells him to his fitness has been stuck for too long, so it considers it a dead run, to start adding configurations to how Mario moves. So what I mean is to start putting in pseudo-random inputs based on it determines the run's dead, and so now he just starts doing somewhat random things to try to get back in a spot to where he starts moving again. And I don't know if this might be detrimental to the learning mechanism, but it would also, at the same time, it might just be enough to keep him going throughout the level, where he's probably gonna get stuck on the stairs here if he makes it past these. Yeah, so he's gonna get stuck on the stairs here probably. And so at this point, the idea would be to have him just start doing pseudo-random inputs, and those would probably be determined based on one idea I had was a reversal of the current inputs. So to switch the inputs for left and right, to switch the inputs for A and B, and to switch the inputs for up and down, all the complements of each other. And so the inputs that used to tell Mario to run right, which is telling him to run right up against the wall, would now tell him to go left, because he's still running right. And then in this case, I don't think it would help too much because there's walls on both sides. But maybe it would, I don't know. Because the idea is it would just move him around a little bit to a spot where he starts getting a good read again. And that is something I'm going to be working on. I'm going to, at some time, have it so instead of restarting the run, it'll switch which inputs read with which output, or which buttons read with which output. And I'll see how that runs. Hopefully, if it is detrimental to the learning mechanism, maybe it'd be something like you don't do that. Like you don't switch outputs, you just let them restart the run until so many generations in. And then you start having the switching outputs, because that would, like in that pipe scenario, it would tell them to go left a little bit, it would then deactivate. So it tells them to go left for maybe, however many frames, like 300 frames. And then it just goes back to the original network, not the flipped one. And so that might be, I'll see how that works. I'm not actually sure if it might just make Mario stuck in a loop of going up against the wall, then back away from the wall, then up against the wall. But at the same time, it might also get him out of the loop, or just get him unstuck. And so I'll see how that works. And then one other thing that that I was reading into for our research was Oh, here we go. This is a little bit further. Not quite a new record. He made up to that block before. Um, and here I can actually play the top one. So save. There's a couple of tools off screen to let you save and load. And right now it's playing the Mario's Best Run. And well, anyways, what I was reading was a paper about having in real time software. Oh, we made it to that block. To have a timing based on the neurons being read. So instead of an input being read as instantly pressing A, it would read as press A in 30 frames. Press A in, so many frames. And this would create more of a more scenarios that Mario could find himself in, which I think would ultimately give give him better movement throughout the level. Because right now, the reason he stops is because he runs out of. He just done like he ran out of his inputs aren't reading him anything new. Where while this doesn't necessarily mean anything for a normal neural network, this is running in real time software. So I think just having a little timing based thing might give Mario more scenarios to get through. So, like for example, if you look at left, there's a couple of red connections which only activate when there's a sprite underneath. There's one green connection, but it's hard to tell where it's going. It's going somewhere up here. But the point is, Mario doesn't really go left ever, and he's learned not to go left because that's counterintuitive to his fitness. But there are some levels where Mario absolutely needs to go left, especially in later levels. And so if this, just by learning to go to the right based on his fitness, Mario's never really going to know to go left. But now in that scenario, if there's a timing based element, it would say Mario might learn if there's something in front of him for 30 frames straight, which is the timing element, to go left. And that would just give him a new look at what's going on. It would he would he would like fall down the staircase, which would give him a new read, and he might jump back up the staircase, which is the hope. And whether it works or not, I don't know. I'm going to be working with that, and that one's going to be a little bit harder to program. Right now, I'm going to try the bias node flickering was the easiest to program. That's why that's going first, and it doesn't seem like it's doing too much of a change. The inputs reversing, or rather the outputs reversing to their complement. So left to right, up and down, B and A. When he gets stuck, that'd be something that's a little bit easier to program. Because yeah, that'd be a little bit easier to program. And then the timing thing would be a little bit harder because then you got to really dig into the way everything's being read. And so I do think these changes wouldn't be, it wouldn't be unjust to the idea of the application because he's still doing things with no idea of the game world. He has no previous he knows he only sees he only sees the screen. He doesn't know any hidden information. We're not telling him we're not giving him the answers. We're not telling him just to jump over and over again and the idea is to make this universal to multiple games. And so I think the timing based thing is universal to all games. I think the toggles flipping based on how you keep track of fitness might be universal in most games. And yeah, so I don't think it violates the idea of the application. And I also think it will potentially make it a little bit easier to overcome these staircases. Like in this scenario, Mario would start walking left because he was walking right against the block. and he might, you know, once he's down in the bottom of the staircase, he might get a new read in the screen and might tell him, okay, now jump to the right. And I think that would be a pretty good way to get through the level. And as a little something else I've been playing with, just really quick before I wrap up, is I was trying to get the application running with a different game. So here's Contra, which is still a side scroller. It's but it is very different. And so as a little test to get familiar with the code, I um, I tried getting it working with Contra. But now the thing is, the way Mario knows about the locations of things on the screen is by reading in straight memory from the game. And so Mario's X position is based on the byte at address 60 or whatever. And so that's a little bit complicated. I was able to find a website that gave the memory addresses for a lot of things in Contra, but it is hard to tell. It's not all one-to-one because Mario keeps track of where bricks are on the screen differently than Contra would, or any other game would. And so until then, this is what it somewhat works right now. The let me refresh it. Um, what's it complaining about? Toggle. Here we go. Here's it running through Contra. As you can see, the map's all screwed up because I'm using the same way that Mario reads in bricks, which with a new address, I looked up the address of the tiles in Contra, but they're not necessarily the same. And so the screen's a little bit misrepresented, but I was able to get the location of the character and the fitness working, and but not the location of sprites. And so this is just a little side thing to see. This was the test, how universal the actual application was, because now it's not even running Mario. And even with a broken map, it does. I think load. I think there was actually one pretty good run. Or no, that one doesn't work anymore. But yeah, there was one pretty good run, and it would be cool to see it working in other games and to be able to write the program to maneuver through games besides Mario. And the way it's set up, it is pretty close to be able to. And I think with the changes, it would be able to get through levels in fewer amounts of generations, and also it'd be able to get through levels that it previously couldn't with the flip flop and maybe the timing thing if it comes to that. But yeah, until then, that's what we have so far. Even if this isn't used in place of the meeting, it will be good to Griffin and Jordan for documentation purposes. So I'll see you guys